We have seen, for instance, trade confirmers go through the chute. We have seen
International Trust.
And even quite recently, Workers' Bank and all of these as well. So when you are in the business of finance, people must learn. There are two things I keep saying that they must learn. And I made a point in Senate where the first rule I said is really three rules. It's to diversify, diversify, and diversify. To the extent that you put money in Clico, it would not have been a major problem if you had put some there and a lot more elsewhere. But many people put all, if not a substantial amount, in Clico.
Well, let's come to that, Patrick. Interesting point. The people selling these instruments, because I was approached by a few of them, were called financial advisors, wealth advisors. They weren't insurance salesmen anymore. These were wealth advisors. And they were advising clients to put all their eggs in one basket. What financial advisor worthy of the name will advise a client to put all their eggs in one basket? Peter, maybe you want to have a crack at that one.
My concern in all of this is the regulator's rule. We saw what happened.
We've acknowledged that the regulator failed.
No, but why are we beating up on the advisors and we're beating up on the policyholders?
They weren't parties to this?
If a breach has arisen because the regulators didn't do their job, there's recourse. That is how the system works, Jeremy.
What's the recourse?
The recourse is to sue the regulators for gross negligence. And I can show you the relevant sections under the Central Bank Act.
And where's that been done, and what have people been paid as a result of it?
Where it has been done?
Yes.
It's only in a country like Trinidad and Tobago you would have that kind of situation.
So nowhere in the world this was been
I am
done.
not aware. Are you aware of anywhere that...
That's why I'm asking you.
And I'm saying, it's always a first.
Is that empty recourse?
Sorry?
Is that empty recourse? Is there some
I don't know that is empty recourse. The Central Bank can be sued like any other entity. And the Central Bank Act gives clear provisions how that is done. Let me give you an example. In Antigua, when Stanford, that was a Ponzi scheme, Patrick, not what we have in
We'll come to Ponzi schemes.
Hold on.
We'll come to Ponzi schemes.
I want to talk about the Antigua. Do you know, Jeremy, and I'm sure you must know, that the regulator there was signing off on the accounts for Stanford for 6 years.
Yes.
6 years.
Yes. He was paid off to do so.
Until the SEC in the US came down and they swooped in.
Yeah.
And they said, yes. Yeah. And the regulator from Antigua is now, well, he's in an orange jumpsuit in a jail.
Yeah, but he may go to jail.
The regulator is now assisting the US
the question is,
Justice Department
but the question
in prosecuting Stanford.
Are the investors going to get back their money?
Are the investors going to get back their money?
Yes.
But that is the whole point, Jeremy.
Well,
what is being brought is criminal charges against those persons.
Yes, they may lock up one man, but will the investors get back their money? And that's the operative question.
Will they get back the money? Well, time will tell on that.
Let's take a break here. Yeah. Let's take a break here and come back. We go for a short break. Stay with us. Welcome back to CNC3's special edition on the Clico crisis. I am Jeremy Matuk, and my guests this evening are Government Senator Patrick Watson, Peter Pamel of the Clico Policyholders Group, and Douglas Camacho, President of ATIC. Gentlemen, we were talking about recourse to the regulator, but I want to just shift gears a second here. How would you describe the last government's handling of the crisis? And this crisis began January 30th, 2009. I did the show that night. I had the regulator of financial institutions, Carl Hiralal. Douglas was here. It's been 20 months, just about, since then. How would you describe the last government's handling of the crisis? Peter, I'm going to give you a first crack.
Okay. In principle, there was absolutely nothing wrong with the plan that the Governor of the Central Bank presented on the 30th of January 2009. It is a plan that has been implemented in the US, as you're well aware, after the financial meltdown of September around 2008, where you had one of the largest companies, I mean, Douglas, you'll be familiar with AIG, probably the largest company, correct me if I'm wrong, Douglas.
Who have just paid back
the largest insurance company in the world.
Yeah.
And the US government had to inject something like $180 billion into AIG, which represented 80% of the equity. And do you know, Jeremy, that on the 2nd of September 2008, the stock price of AIG was something like $21.70 cents, and that stock price has now increased over the last 18 or 24 months to $36 and some cents, which is a 66.7% increase in share value.
And let me add,
yes,
AIG just paid the government the money back.
Exactly, because they don't want the government to control the company.
Show me the comparison to Trinidad.
What I'm telling you is that the model and the proposal that was made by the governor of the central bank was that he was going to inject debt and equity into Clico. He was going to then offer that for sale but via an IPO on the stock market so that the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago would own a stake in Clico. That was the plan.
That was the plan.
Yes.
I didn't ask you about the plan. I asked you about the government's handling.
I am not a government minister.
No.
Patrick is a government senator.
I'm asking you.
Ask the government of
question, no, Peter, the question was, how would you describe the last government's handling of the crisis?
There's no information in the public domain, Jeremy.
So in other words, you know nothing beyond the plan.
The plan was there. I got a guarantee from the governor of the central bank saying that your money is safe. I went home and I slept well.
Was the plan implemented?
Based on what I'm hearing, Patrick Watson and his team is saying, it seems that it hasn't.
Okay.
But I am yet to hear from the man who came up with the plan. So I'm saying, and I want to say tonight, let me say this, Jeremy.
Have you seen any evidence of the plan?
Let me say this tonight, Jeremy. I am saying on national television, I am giving the governor of the central bank, Mr. Ewart Williams, until Friday of this week to make a public statement as to what is the state of play with respect to Clico and his plan that he guaranteed the country that their money was going to be safe. If he does not make a statement, my group and I are going to call for his resignation. That is where we are now with this issue.
Fair enough. Patrick, come in here.
Well, let me say, first of all,
it's kind of tough for me to ask you what do you think of the last government's plan. You're not going to like it.
When the Memorandum of Understanding was called, I was on a record as being supportive of it when it happened, having no information at the point. The fact that they poured the $5 billion into it, and then the $2 billion, there's the $7 billion in all that eventually went into it, 5 to Clico, so on. But it is the eventual play out of this that went really bad, to the extent that people were using the $7 million and paying the interest on these EFPAs. I understand. I mean, I'm not understanding. I saw it, and some of the people who were looking at it. Clico was, and that's why where the comparison with AIG is totally wrong. Clico was involved in an exercise of self-liquidation over a time, and they were using the $7 million to buy time, and they were paying it out to friends and all kinds of things. That's the information we have about what was going on in Clico. So some people, when their policies matured, got it. Some people even got it before maturity, and some people, policies matured and they got nothing.
Well, I had a question about it.
Karen, I must say something.
Yes.
There's one thing I must say about the question. We are now, as this government, we are now taking legislation to Parliament to legalize that Memorandum of Understanding. It never became law. Wow. It is an illegal document as far as we are concerned. Similarly, the statement, the verbal statement from the Minister of cannot be considered a guarantee. I know Peter and his group were talking about that statement as well. They have reverted now to the declarations of the central bank, which is fine. But the statement of the minister at that time, which is a verbal undertaking, had no basis in law. It never went to the parliament. She herself, as a lawyer, will be the first to admit that. There was a budget that followed afterwards in September 2009. Mention was made of Clico, but there was no attempt to legalize either the MOU or anything. And incidentally, I should mention that those who felt that both what the governor was saying and certainly what the minister, because as far as I know, the central bank has no money to pay. It is the taxpayer who will have to pay this in the final analysis, and then the instrument of that will be the minister of finance. As far as I am aware, and I would want to believe, I don't think the central bank governor is authorized to make that kind of guarantee. That's a point that I would like lawyers to respond to. And so when these things are brought before us in this way, even Karen Teixeira-Nunes said, and I'm sure she said this in the 2009 budget, but she certainly said it in other fora, that not 1 cent beyond the $5 billion that she put into Clico. There was another 2 billion that people must not forget it, that went into the CIB thing, so there's 7 billion and all. She herself said that, the government was not prepared to put a single cent. So when you talk about handling the crisis, they made the initial foray, a lot of brave danger and bravado, but nothing else followed.